There are 5 things a woman can do that make a man's desire disappear in seconds, and the worst part is, most of them happen without her even realizing it. Sounds harsh maybe, but once you see how quickly attraction can fade, not from what you say, but from what you unknowingly show, you'll never see chemistry the same way again. Everyone talks about what builds desire, confidence, mystery, playfulness, but almost no one talks about what quietly destroys it. And it doesn't take betrayal or boredom to kill attraction. Sometimes it's a tone, a rhythm, a small moment of pressure that breaks what was once magnetic. The human mind is wired to chase tension, not comfort. Desire lives in that space between closeness and distance. When that balance breaks, the spark fades too. But before we go deeper, let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a man pull away without warning? His messages slow down, his energy feels off, and suddenly you're replaying every word you said, wondering what changed. What if I told you it wasn't him losing interest, it was his instincts withdrawing? Because men don't lose desire through logic, they lose it chemically. Just like adrenaline fades after a thrill, male attraction fades after certain emotional signals, and most women send these signals without meaning to. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding how male desire works, so you can stop guessing and start noticing the invisible signs before they vanish. The truth is, attraction isn't built by trying harder, it's built by knowing when to stop doing the things that quietly switch him off. There's a pattern many women repeat without realizing it. It starts with over-connection, texting too often, over-explaining, over-reassuring. The intention is good, but the energy says, "You're my center." And that's when his system retreats. Why? Because male desire is fueled by pursuit, not maintenance. He wants to feel that your world existed before him and will still exist if he's not around. The moment that feeling disappears, the chase dies. But that's only one of the 5 mistakes. The next ones are even more subtle. Habits that feel loving but register in his body as control. Before we dive into those, there's something crucial to understand. Chemistry doesn't vanish overnight. It's a slow leak. Every time you say or do something that tells his nervous system, safe but predictable, you're draining small doses of the excitement that fuels attraction. You might think you're building connection, but what you're really doing is lowering voltage. And here's the paradox. The closer you try to get, the less he feels. That's why this isn't about rules. It's about rhythm. The rhythm between feminine energy and masculine response. If you've ever wondered why he was obsessed at first and then suddenly distant, it's not bad timing. It's a collapse in polarity. The magnetic pull between 2 people works like gravity. It only exists when both sides stay distinct. Once you blend too deeply into his orbit, that field weakens. So before we name mistake number 1, remember this. Desire isn't about access. It's about anticipation. The more predictable you become, the less space his imagination has to play. And imagination is the oxygen of desire. That's why the most magnetic women aren't the most available. They're the most aware. They know when to reveal and when to hold back, when to speak and when silence says more. They understand that holding space creates more pull than filling it. I used to think this kind of restraint was manipulation, that if you didn't share everything you felt, you were being cold. But I was wrong. It's not distance, it's discipline. Because true intimacy needs room to breathe. When you crowd it, it suffocates. But when you learn to create space intentionally, you don't chase connection, you guide it. So what's the first mistake that kills a man's desire instantly? It's the urge to correct him, not in arguments, but in subtle, everyday ways. Finishing his sentences, adjusting his choices, steering his rhythm without realizing it. To you, it might feel like teamwork. To him, it feels like pressure. His nervous system reads it as, "I'm not safe to lead." And once that thought sets in, attraction drains away like water through cracks. Because a man's desire is deeply connected to his sense of freedom. the more he feels watched or managed, the less alive he feels. This doesn't mean you should stay quiet. It means shifting from correction to curiosity. Instead of saying, "That's not how it's done," try saying, "Interesting, show me how you do it." That small change gives him room to express himself without feeling tested. It reawakens the polarity. You're not giving up power, you're allowing flow. And the best part is, when you stop trying to control the outcome, his energy naturally rises to meet yours. That's the beautiful paradox. The less you push, the more he pulls. Remember this, because it connects directly to mistake number 2, the one that doesn't just kill desire, but changes how he feels when he looks at you. This next mistake is dangerous because it's invisible, emotional, and often irreversible. The second thing that destroys male desire almost instantly is emotional overexposure. Not emotion itself, but the way it floods the space between you until he feels overwhelmed by your openness. Society often tells women to communicate openly and fully, but what's rarely explained is that desire and safety come from two different parts of the nervous system. Safety calms him, desire excites him. When you share every thought, every feeling, every detail before his curiosity even forms, you take away the tension that makes his mind chase you. Think of it like music. If every note plays at once, there's no melody, just noise. The same happens in attraction. When you fill every silence with explanation, you leave him nothing to wonder about. And when a man stops wondering, he slowly stops wanting. I used to believe vulnerability meant full honesty, that showing everything built closeness. But real intimacy isn't about full disclosure, it's about timing. The right emotion, shared at the right moment, deepens connection. The rest just becomes emotional clutter. When his body senses that your emotions are constantly spilling into his space, it doesn't register as love, it registers as pressure. His instincts don't think, "She's so open." They think, "I can't breathe." And that's when desire fades. It's not because you're too emotional, it's because he no longer feels the pull of your mystery. The moments that once felt charged now feel heavy. The balance that once sparked connection starts to feel like weight. Men are drawn to emotional women, not chaotic ones, but women who can feel deeply and still hold their center. That balance is what makes emotion magnetic instead of draining. Because when a woman can feel without spilling over, she becomes rare. And rarity is irresistible. His body reacts before his logic does. He might say he's okay, but his energy begins to pull back. Desire always depends on polarity. It's your emotional current flowing toward him while his energy balances around it. But when that current turns into a flood, the polarity burns out. Suddenly, he's not feeling pulled in anymore. He's feeling worn out. That's when he starts to drift away quietly, not because he doesn't care, but because his nervous system is trying to restore balance. The solution isn't going silent, it's adjusting your flow. The power isn't in how much emotion you show, but in how you manage it. When you can feel deeply without needing reassurance, you project calm confidence. That quiet strength reignites attraction because it communicates, "I feel deeply, but I'm still steady." It's emotional control that looks like mystery, and that's what keeps him magnetized. Then comes mistake number 3, the one many women confuse for power: emotional competition. It happens subtly and often with good intentions. You match his sarcasm, his independence, his logic. You believe mirroring his strength will make him respect you more, but respect and attraction don't work the same way. When you try to meet masculine energy with more masculine energy, desire cancels itself out. It's like forcing two positive charges together. They push away. A man doesn't crave reflection, he craves resonance. Feminine energy isn't about being weak or overly soft, it's about contrast. The kind of energy that pulls him in is the one that complements his drive, not copies it. When he speaks with logic, meet him with presence. When he moves quickly, slow things down. When he plans, bring spontaneity. That's real polarity at work. It's not about fixed roles, it's about rhythm. Many women lose that rhythm because they've been taught that softness means submission, but it doesn't. It's intelligence. The feminine doesn't win through confrontation, it wins through calibration. The real art of attraction isn't beating him, it's making him forget there was ever a fight. And when that happens, he doesn't feel defensive or overpowered, he simply feels pulled toward you. The truth is, the women who seem the most independent on the surface often struggle with this the most. They're used to leading, but they've forgotten how to receive. Desire dies when he has nothing left to offer. When every gesture, plan, or suggestion is already handled, he stops giving because there's no space left for him to contribute. His interest doesn't fade out of boredom, it fades out of feeling unneeded. If you want to bring back that spark, create space for his energy to matter again. Ask, "What do you think?" Not as a trick, but as an invitation. When he feels useful again, something in his body reawakens. Attraction isn't about endless excitement, it's about meaning. That's why the smallest shift, letting him take the lead, asking for help, giving him a role, can reignite desire faster than endless praise. You're not feeding his ego, you're tapping into his biology. Men are wired to respond to loops of purpose and effectiveness. When you give him that feedback loop, his attraction stabilizes. But when you cut it off, his motivation fades. Before moving to mistake number 4, there's something important to understand. These aren't just habits, they're tiny signals his primal brain picks up long before he's aware of them. Every tone, expression, and micro-reaction tells him whether to approach or back away. The next mistake is the most invisible one. It doesn't show in what you say or do. It hides in your energy. Once it shows up, desire doesn't just fade, it disappears. The fourth mistake that kills male desire isn't an action. It's the quiet presence of self-doubt that seeps into every exchange. You can be stunning, smart, and magnetic, yet even the faintest trace of insecurity will reach his body before it reaches his thoughts. Men don't analyze emotion like women do, but they feel energetic shifts almost instantly. When your tone hesitates, when your body tenses before he answers, when your eyes search for validation, he picks up the change. His instincts shift from attraction to analysis. Suddenly, he's not feeling you, he's studying you, and the moment that happens, the chemistry is gone. Desire cannot exist under evaluation, it only thrives under surrender. Confidence isn't about volume or arrogance, it's about steadiness. It's the quiet between words that says, "I know my worth, whether you see it or not." That's what locks his attention naturally. Insecurity, on the other hand, creates pressure. It silently asks him to fix, to prove, to comfort. And once he steps into that role, polarity breaks. He becomes the caretaker, you become dependent. The connection becomes safe but emotionless. The sad truth is, most women reveal insecurity most clearly when they care the most. They overthink texts, read too much into pauses, and try harder to keep things alive. But the more effort you put in from fear, the less desire he feels. Attraction isn't built from constant effort, it's born from emotional balance. When your energy says, "I'm already complete," he relaxes and leans closer. When it says, "I need you to make me feel complete," he pulls away and retreats into logic. And when logic replaces instinct, desire shuts off instantly. That's why the most attractive women aren't the ones who are perfect. They're the ones who can hold emotional tension without breaking. They don't chase comfort, they radiate certainty. They don't beg for reassurance, they trust their value. The less they try to prove, the more magnetic they become. And now comes mistake number 5, the most subtle one of all, emotional monotony. It appears when you stop surprising his nervous system. Everything about you, your tone, your gestures, your rhythm, becomes predictable. There's no new spark, no polarity, no emotional shift. The brain, which craves novelty, begins to wander. He doesn't drift because he's tired of you. He drifts because his system already knows what's coming. Consistency builds trust, but unpredictability builds excitement. You need both. Yet most women lose the second once they feel safe. They stop playing with emotional tension. They stop changing pace. They stop creating small but powerful contrasts between warmth and mystery, openness and pause, softness and stillness. The truth is, a relationship without emotional variety feels stable, but it also feels lifeless. Attraction lives in movement, in the push and pull, in the gentle shifts that remind him there's still something to reach for. When you keep that rhythm alive, you don't just hold his interest, you keep his body and heart engaged. And in that space, love doesn't fade. It grows stronger, deeper, and more alive than before. Without contrast, there's no charge. Imagine music played only on one single note. No matter how pure the sound is, it loses emotion. Attraction works the same way. Every man, whether he knows it or not, craves emotional rhythm. The way your voice rises, how your silence lands, how your energy shifts without warning. That's what keeps him alert, interested, alive. The key isn't drama, it's movement. Drama drains, dynamics attract. To bring that spark back, you don't have to become someone new. You just need to remember who you were before you tried to be flawless. The spontaneous one, the playful one, the woman who could tease without fear. She's still there, just buried under caution. When she returns, his senses wake up again. Desire doesn't survive on safety alone. It feeds on surprise. Give him peace, then pull away just an inch. Smile when he expects silence. Stay silent when he expects words. The smallest shift in what's predictable resets his focus. That's how you spark his curiosity again without using tricks. You're not confusing him. You're waking up his natural urge to discover you. Because in the end, attraction isn't about constant attention, it's about constant rediscovery. Now that you understand all 5 mistakes, the urge to overshare emotions, to compete emotionally, to doubt yourself, and to fall into monotony, you can start to recognize them as they appear. You'll see how each one drains a different part of his mind and body. Leadership, curiosity, polarity, instinct, novelty. Each fades when those mistakes take over. Fix them, and you'll notice something amazing. You don't have to chase connection anymore. It finds you. But before we move to the final part, there's one last truth to see clearly. Knowing what the mistakes are isn't enough. You need to master the rhythm that keeps them from coming back. And that rhythm doesn't come from methods or strategies. It comes from presence. The same thing that makes a single touch unforgettable can make your whole energy unforgettable too. The real question is, how do you use it without losing control? Presence is the answer to every mistake that kills desire. When you're present, you stop performing and start feeling. You sense before you speak. You read his breathing before you read his words. That kind of awareness shifts everything, because male desire isn't triggered only by looks. It's triggered by emotional alignment. When your feelings, thoughts, and actions move in harmony, his whole body senses it as attraction. He doesn't know why. He just feels calmer, more awake, more drawn to you. This is the same state that artists call flow and psychologists call limbic resonance. It's when 2 nervous systems connect naturally without effort. The strange part is, you can't fake it. You can fake confidence, you can fake interest, but presence is biological. It shows in your eyes, in the quiet spaces between words, in how steady your tone remains, even when everything around you feels uncertain. That's why the most magnetic energy isn't excitement, it's calm. When you're grounded in your body, his body feels safe enough to crave you. It's not the rush that keeps him hooked. It's the mixture of peace and tension, softness mixed with certainty. That balance is what captures him. It's the emotional version of the back of his neck, the lower back, the space between his mind and his body. The same three areas you learned about in the viral script. You're not touching him, yet you're activating the same emotional response: awareness, safety, connection. The secret is to turn that awareness inward first. Feel your own energy before you try to influence his. Notice how you breathe when you're near him. Notice how your shoulders react when silence falls. Every tiny adjustment you make to your own state sends a wave through his. That's silent influence. That's effortless attraction. The goal isn't to control him. It's to regulate yourself so powerfully that his system mirrors yours automatically. When you breathe slower, he follows. When you stay still, his body slows down too. That's real chemistry. The invisible kind. It's what keeps his focus even when you're not trying to. But here's where many women fall into a trap. Once they realize this quiet power, they start to use it as a trick, and that's when it stops working. The moment you start chasing a reaction, you lose the resonance. The second you use calmness as manipulation instead of connection, it turns empty. True presence isn't performance, it's surrender. It's allowing yourself to exist fully in the moment without trying to prove or predict anything. You stop trying to impress. You stop trying to guess outcomes. You just exist completely in the now. That's the state that makes him addicted, not to your looks or words, but to the way he feels when he's around you. It's that same mix of calm and curiosity that his brain can't quite explain, so it replays it over and over. He begins to link you to that rare emotional tone, steady yet alive. Even if he tries not to, his mind recalls you each time he feels that same emotion again. That's what psychologists call imprinting. It's not fantasy. It's how memory forms emotion. This is where mastery begins. You stop trying to create desire and start maintaining it through rhythm. Speak, then pause. Smile, then hold his gaze one beat longer than expected. Let silence breathe until it turns magnetic instead of awkward. These tiny gaps of tension are what feed chemistry. The biggest mistake people make is rushing to fill them. But now you know better. When you can sit in that pause without fear, he feels it as strength. When you can hold a gaze without demanding anything, he feels it as confidence. That's the shift from reacting to leading. From wanting attention to commanding it effortlessly. You stop needing to be desired. You start choosing to be remembered. Because being desired happens fast, but being remembered lasts. That's the art of true attraction. Now picture this. You've corrected the 5 mistakes, you've learned presence, and suddenly his behavior starts to change. His tone softens, his eyes stay longer, his touch slows. You've changed the rhythm without saying a word, and this is where most lose balance. They mistake his renewed desire for proof of worth. But the truth is, when he starts reflecting your calm, you're standing at a powerful point. The line between influence and dependence. Your role now isn't to tighten control, it's to stay centered, because the same awareness that pulled him in can either deepen or destroy the bond. Real strength isn't about power over him, it's about mastery over your own state. That's what keeps desire alive for years instead of fading in hours. So when he looks at you and you sense that quiet pause, the soft breath, the shift in his eyes, the silent question, you'll know he's feeling it too. That invisible field between calm and craving. You don't have to say anything, just stay still in your awareness. Let him feel the space you've mastered, and as you turn and walk away, leave behind a single unspoken thought, a whisper that echoes long after you're gone. Desire doesn't disappear, it follows wherever presence leads.